Baby, if they feel like they tricked you into loving them, they're going to punish you for it. I think it's time that we have this particular therapeutic conversation because we're talking about your partner's self esteem being the third wheel in your relationship. Intro. Welcome back to the Daily Donna. I'm your host, Dr. Donna Oriowo, sex and relationship therapist in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I am the author of Drink Water and Mind Your Business, a Black woman's guide to unlearning the BS and healing self-esteem, which is actually going to be one of the foundational things that we're using to have a conversation about what it means for your partner's self-esteem to be the third wheel in your relationship. Now, I am going to give you like 3 major points and maybe a couple side quests as well. And then we'll go ahead and do a feelings check-in and all that other stuff, and we'll go ahead and close out. So here's the thing. There's a difference between someone who wants to win you and someone who wants to be with you. And oftentimes people are with someone who wants to win them, right? Like they do all the wooing, they do all the pieces, they tell you the things that you want to hear. The problem is that they don't feel those things, they don't mean those things. And when you get into a relationship with them and they've won you, they're trying to figure out how they keep you. So one of the ways that they do that is by punishing you. Is they are looking at you like, how did I win you? Maybe you're outside my league by looks, by smarts, by this thing, by that thing. And they're coming down on themselves so hardly or so harshly that they're not sure how they won you, which can sometimes make them question your judgment. But the thing is, it's their self-esteem that's in the room with you. So in the book, I talk about 4 types of self-esteem because I know that a lot of us think of self-esteem being on a binary. You got it or you ain't. That's incorrect. It's incomplete. So it's on a spectrum. And that spectrum goes from secure self-esteem to vacant self-esteem. What you missing in the middle is your fragile self-esteem and your damaged self-esteem. Now, I'm going to tell you about each of these self-esteems real quick. So secure self-esteem is also very well paired with folk who have a growth mindset, as in you believe good things about yourself. You believe in your ability to learn and to grow. Secure self-esteem. Vacant self-esteem, you just ain't got it. You don't have it. You don't believe that other people believe that you should have it either. And so all things are what you feel like they should be. Now you have your damaged and your fragile in the middle. Fragile self-esteem, you live for the likes. If somebody didn't say that you did a good job, you're not sure that you did a good job. You're almost like how people talk about having a golden retriever husband or whatever. It's like you need someone to tell you good boy or good girl, right? To pat you on the head and tell you that you did a good job. Now, if you're into kinky things, that's fine. But for this one, we're talking about your people pleasers when we're talking about fragile self-esteem. And we're also talking about people who have a fixed mindset, meaning that you think that whatever it is what it's going to be, and you won't be able to grow from there. And you can have that fixed mindset comes with the rest. Growth mindset comes with secure. Damaged self-esteem is low key, you feel it, right? You know who you are, you like who you are, but because the world does not confirm, because the world says something different, you become unsure and you become silent. An example of this would be a while back, homegirl on Pop the Balloon. She popped her own balloon because she was just like, yeah, he's not going to want to be with me because that's what the world says about men who look a certain way and whether or not they want a dark-skinned woman. She popped her own balloon. The bravery would be in getting the balloon back, which she did. But the part where we don't say nothing, we don't speak up, we maintain our silence, that's a lot of us. A lot of Black folk, in particular Black women, live in that space specifically of damaged self-esteem. Now, I'll tell you this right now. Fragile, damaged, and vacant self esteem ruins a lot of freaking relationships, right? Because now we're talking about your self concept. Self concept is what informs your self esteem. What you know about yourself informs what you feel about yourself. Now, if you don't feel good about you, then if you don't know you, you definitely don't feel good about you. If what you think you know about yourself is all negative, then you also don't feel good about you. And that runs into your relationship. It becomes the third wheel because how you feel about yourself is going to play out again and again between you and your lover. So when you are with someone who has fragile self esteem, they're going to constantly need validation. They're going to constantly need you to tell them that they're doing a good job, that they are a good partner, that they are what you want, right? This person will come to you anxious, basically, and they need you to help exude that anxiety. That is not always a problem, beloved. It is not always a problem. I know that some people think that they will jump to the conclusion that I'm saying you should only be in a relationship when you're secure. No, you go as you are. And hopefully, you and your partner understand that where you start, it may not be where you finish, and that things can get better or worse with time, depending on what you're willing to do about it. Now, where it comes to that fragile piece needs the validation. It needs the constant talking. But what happens when you're with someone with damaged self-esteem? It means that low key they feel like they got it, but they're silent, which means it tends to breed a type of resentment between them and their lover or their partner because they are like, well, why you acting like I ain't the shit or da da da. Like they're having these inner grumblings that don't necessarily make it out, except in how they treat you. And someone with vacant self-esteem, woe be unto you because that is hard to deal with. Someone that doesn't have any self-esteem, doesn't believe that they can grow and change, doesn't believe that you can grow and change, that is a scary place to be in. Between those three, particularly, I would even say that one I find to be one of the more damaging ones would probably be fragile self-esteem, because not only could they be a people pleaser, they could be a people pleaser who is fronting, who's pretending to have self-esteem, and thus they're practicing perfection. Perfection ain't nothing but fancy anxiety. You heard it here. I said it. Perfection ain't nothing but fancy, society accepted anxiety, because we want the people who are looking for the perfection. The problem with the perfection is that when the perfection, that anxiety, when it shows up as a third wheel in your relationship, it means that not only do you expect yourself to be perfect, you expect your partner to be perfect. So every time they fall short of what your imagination says a perfect partner should say or do or be, you will punish them for it. So why are we having this conversation? We're having this conversation because lately it has been coming up quite a bit among friends, among family members, and some clients as well. This idea of who else are you in this relationship with? And so we've been having more and more of these conversations because if you don't understand how self-esteem shows up, then you don't even know why the relationship feels like it's degrading in the way that it's degrading. So I gave you my first 2 points, right? So the first one being that there's a difference between someone who wants to win you and someone who wants to be with you. The second one is that fragile and damaged and vacant self-esteems as a thing that can ruin a lot of relationships, particularly because we don't be like talking for real. And then the third thing here is this: a lot of this can lead to imposter syndrome, right? Damaged self-esteem, fragile self-esteem, this idea that you gained something that you should not have gained, and now you feel like you have to pretend to keep it. Here's the thing about that. When you think that something is wrong with you, not that you did something wrong. I did something wrong, guilt. Something is wrong with me, shame. When you have shame, shame engenders silence. Silence engenders distance, which means that you can be in a relationship with your lover and they can feel lonely as hell because there is shame and there is emotional distance between you. Doesn't matter. Y'all could be all up on each other all day, every day. And the second one, if you go to the bathroom, they can feel that loneliness. They could be with you in the moment and still feel that loneliness. Because if they think that something is wrong with them, that you are God's gift to humanity, you are perfect, you are delightful. Number one, they've pedestalized you, which means that anytime you make a mistake, it's going to be that much more detrimental to not only how they see your character, but how they will treat you when you make those mistakes, because they are expecting and even requiring your constant performance of perfection. But in addition to them doing that, they also are seeing themselves as someone who doesn't have it. And so they may feel at an emotional distance from you because they're trying to figure out what's wrong with you that you would choose them. Or they are going to try and convince themselves that they deserve you and that they earned you. And so they will try to bring you to the level that they are on by systematically destroying your self-esteem. They will get you to not know who you are. They will damage your self-concept so that they can damage your self-esteem. I am not saying that they do it on purpose, though. You've heard of negging. I've heard of negging. And for those of us who have not heard of negging is when someone just picks at you and says mean things to you and about you so that you begin to feel negatively about yourself. So if they can get you into a space where you feel like you don't really know who you are, like, wow, you are so dramatic. Oh, you really think you're all that. Oh, look at you. You can't even match your shoes. Look at the way you dress. You would be so prettier. You'd be pretty if you did this, right? If they can get you to question what you think you know about yourself, they can also damage your self-esteem. And some people can reverse engineer it. They can make you feel bad about yourself to the point where you question who you are, where you are wondering who you should be, and you begin to perform what they are saying you should be instead. I am telling you this because that is a hard space to live in when you are in a three-wheeling relationship with your partner's self-esteem and with their imposter syndrome about being in a relationship with you. Now, I spoke to a imposter syndrome expert. His name is Steve Von Lewis. On my podcast, Desire Dialogues. I'll link it here, show a picture or something. But in that, he talked about the cost of good and what it costs for the good that you want. The problem, though, becomes if you don't think you are worth the good that you have gotten or that you've received, how that can damage your self-esteem because you're not attributing any of your good actions to yourself. And I'm adding the step that then you can lash out at the people around you as a result. So while I may have said your lover might be the one with the third part that has invited this third party self-esteem concern into your relationship, so it's you, them, and their self-esteem, it could be you. It might be you who has the issue with the self-esteem that is allowing it to dictate the terms of your relationship by lashing out at them, by telling them they're not really, they're not a true woman. They're not a true man. They're not all that. They're not that cute. You think you're so smart. Whatever it is that you're saying that damages. And know this as well. The Gottmans, they are like the experts on relationships. They've been able to predict that if there is that there are four horsemen to a relationship: narcissism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. Contempt is the number one indicator of divorce, which means that contempt could be the number one indicator of your breakup. And they've been able to predict divorce with a 90% accuracy. So for me in all this, what I'm saying is that if you find that your self-esteem, your partner and their self-esteem are in a relationship, and that piece of that self-esteem is damaging the relationship. Like if y'all didn't intend to be in a poly relationship, you're going to have to talk about that self-esteem. If you're in a polycule and you find that one of your lovers has a concern with their self-esteem, that self-esteem is also part of the relationship. It means that now y'all need to have a conversation. And I know that it's very easy to want to ignore it or even to blame them for it. And I'm not saying do that, right? Because self-esteem is not self-taught. The way that we learn to know ourselves and to like ourselves is very much an indicator of who has been around us and what our community has been, as well as what our society has been. Certain people are more prone to it because, quite frankly, the way that self esteem has been taught, the way that it's been moving, self esteem is for white people. So if you are a person of color, if you are Black, if you are a woman, if you're not rich, self esteem was never really intended for you. Which means if we don't rework self esteem, if you don't understand what's in your self esteem, then you may not understand what it is that you've cooked and what you are feeding to other people. It is your job, it is your work, it is your responsibility, right? Like you may not have done it, but you're an adult now. So it's your responsibility to heal what you can so that the relationship you have with your lover is not about what's missing or what's been fractured within your self esteem alone. You want to make sure that you're having an awesome relationship. And that means doing the work of understanding how the both of you are showing up in the relationship, whether or not you are secure, anxious, avoidant, because attachment styles, yes, they also go within the self esteem framework. um, Once you are able to identify your attachment style, your the way that your self-esteem shows up in your relationships, I also mean your friendships, I also mean with your family, I also mean with your friends, right? Your self-esteem is still showing up with you. It is your job to figure out what self-esteem are you showing up with and to do the work to consider how the interactions are changed based off where you are. All right, y'all. You know, I like to do a little bit of a feelings check in. This could have been hard because, sometimes we get called in with with some of these things. But I do just wanted to impress upon you that there is a difference between someone who wants to win you and someone who wants to be with you. And sometimes a person can want to be with you but not know how because of their own insecurities, because of their own self-esteem and how that is showing up in the relationship that they have with you. That means that the both of y'all have some talking to do. The both of y'all have a conversation that needs to be had. So, what do you think your self-esteem relationship is giving? What is your relationship self-esteem giving? And make sure you put that in the comments. If you are willing to share, I understand that this is personal, but go ahead and share. I'll make sure to share mine as well. If one of you asks me, I will share. This has been your daily dialogue with me, Dr. Donna. I hope to see you tomorrow. All right. Bye.